So, Tristan, you've been on our show before.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me.
But this time we're going to be talking about a TV show, and you actually work in like making videos. Yeah. So I would like to ask you, what do you think it takes to set a TV show apart?
I feel like a memorable TV show will be one that breaks the mold by meeting my expectations for entertainment, keeping me entertained, while also leaving me second guessing everything I know, or leaving me feeling like I don't know what could be said or what could happen next.
Kind of zagging on you.
Yes, but not cliffhangers, just breaking the mold of what's standard in the film, TV production industry. Not everything has to fit that form.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, podcasts, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to read or watch for today's show. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens. And joining me today is my guest, whom you heard in our intro, Tristan Hildebrand. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, it was so much fun to have you the first time. I'm excited to talk about another TV series. I guess the last one was a movie, but still, like more film in general, filmish things in general.
Yeah.
So
perhaps I don't read enough if I keep bringing you this kind of video media form.
I don't think anyone has to commit to liking all forms of media. That's a huge commitment. It's okay for people to like specialize in movies or books or whatever. I need people to talk to about all of them. So Is there anything you would like to say to introduce yourself for anyone who missed your first episode?
My name is Tristan and I work here at RTI English. I'm sort of a newer recruit, a hire here. I've been here for I think a couple of months now.
You feel better now about it?
Yeah. And last time we did talk about a very bloody, gruesome movie, Battle Royale.
Yeah. It is violent, but like I think sometimes the word violent gets overused so much because it's true that we have a lot of violence, but then you see things like Battle Royale and it is just like brutal and effective violence.
Yeah, it is
that
effective.
You forget.
And sometimes we're so desensitized to the violence to where we see people like being killed in the theaters and there'll be like a 5-year-old sitting next to me laughing about it. I
think it's a mix, right, of like being overexposed to violence and then also like overexposed as well to kind of like a toned down cinematic violence.
Right.
I still have opinions about like who should see like what in terms of that. But I think then when you see things like Battle Royale, it really kind of reminds you. So anyway, we're actually not talking about Battle Royale today, though. Not even close. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about the OA. And it's the most, I guess, ominous title because it really does give us nothing.
And it's not a medical drama, which is what I thought the first time that you mentioned you wanted to talk about it with me.
It does kind of give off that vibe because like
I don't know, I was thinking OR, I guess.
And I kind of like that the title gives us nothing because we don't know what to expect going into it. Honestly, it was one of those things. I was just scrolling through Netflix, didn't know what to watch, and I just happened to look at the poster, like blank title
enough.
Basically. I was just like, okay,
yeah,
let's go. I don't know what to expect. So
and you felt well rewarded for the choice.
Yes. Well, before we start talking about that, though, maybe we should put in a
couple trigger warnings. Yeah. So if you are sensitive to these topics, what would the OA touch upon?
Ooh, there's definitely captivity, abuse, and a more sensitive one would be suicide. It does start off with that. It's not super
Would it be
heavy,
like, it's not heavy on any of those?
It's not, but
it's worth noting at the front.
There are a couple of triggers there, yeah.
So those trigger warnings were abuse, captivity, and suicide. So if those are things that you're sensitive to, you might want to skip this summary and rejoin us back at the end in maybe around 5 minutes. So without further ado, though, I'm curious because I now know nothing. That's not true. I know a little bit. So the OA is by Britt Marling and Zal Batmalij. I'm so sorry as hell. But I know it's by them. I apologize anyway. That doesn't really tell us anything about the story, though. So
It really doesn't.
for people like me who have never seen it, this is a TV series.
Yeah.
You're just going to be summarizing the first episode. So I'm not going to give my overview episode. Tristan, could you give us a summary of episode 1
Yes,
of
I
Netflix,
can.
The OA?
OA. It starts off with a woman trying to jump off of a bridge. It really does just throw us right in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we see her shortly after waking up in the hospital.
Okay.
She's Jane Doe. You know, the hospital staff keeps asking her, hey, who are you? What is your name? What is your name? She's sort of not exactly, giving them what they want. She's remaining a Jane Doe. Her supposed parents recognize her from the video that we see at the beginning of her jumping off the bridge.
Her supposed
right?
parents.
I only say that because they when they show up, they say she went missing 6 or 7 years ago, but she's not responding to the name that they gave. You're calling her Prairie, but she says her name is the OA. So something else isn't right, because when her parents walk in, she doesn't really recognize them right away.
Right.
She has to hear their voices and touch their faces, because when she went missing, she was blind. But now she's not blind. Right?
Okay.
So then she recognizes her parents. They are her parents, her adoptive parents. And you get to go home with her and actually see her home for the first time, as she's seeing her home for the first time.
She's actually never seen it. That's a very clever little device to be like, oh, yes, now we can explain this in world diegetically.
And you kind of feel like you're on the same page as her, because she's never seen these things before.
Right.
But it is also very sensory. Like, you do see her as her toes curl up on her bedroom carpet, because she kind of, you can tell that she recognizes this sensation, the tactile, like her blanket on her bed. Everything's familiar in that way. So even the sight part, though, is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this.
Okay.
And so the questions on our mind, I guess 5 minutes in, are how did she disappear? Where was she for these 6-7 years? Why isn't her name anymore?
Right.
And how did she get her sight back? Right. These are the main questions.
Yeah.
Okay. And most series would milk this out for as long as possible.
Like all these immediate questions.
Right. But when it comes to the OA, they give you the answers almost right away.
Yay.
I think in the first episode, they don't really answer the sight part directly, but within the next couple episodes, it all becomes clear. And that's
clear as she now sees the world.
Oh, nice. Okay. And that, I think it's because the story is just so rich and so interesting, and there's so much substance there that they're not afraid to give you the answers that you're looking for.
I love
They just give it to you. And sometimes it wraps up in the same episode, and it just keeps revealing more and more.
They give you a question,
and
they give you the promise of we'll answer that by the end of it.
Yeah, basically. And the way that the story is told is through 2 timelines that sort of run simultaneously.
Oh.
The one that we're at is, the first one would be in the present. When she jumps off the bridge, she shows up at the hospital, and when she returns, and how the community around her is reacting to that. And the other one, the other timeline, is her recounting her experience and starting off from when she left and she disappeared and where she was.
So do we get some of that in this first episode?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. But, sometimes when you have the double timeline thing, I'm not the biggest fan. But in this case, with the OA, they recount it with such detail that even though it's the past, it really feels like it's unfolding in real time. And you still care about everything because it's so fascinating.
So how does the episode end? Now you've got me so curious. So she goes home and what happens?
Oh gosh, I kind of forgot where the first episode leaves off. But you do, I guess, throughout the most of the episode, you see her as she's trying to honestly get back to where she was. And she's searching in specifically for somebody who she calls Homer. And it's not really clear where she was quite yet. It is revealed in the next episode.
But she knows where she was.
She knows where she was, and she's trying to get back.
And
but it makes no sense to anybody else, because nobody really understands the extent of what she went through. For example, the FBI agent is trying to figure out, is there a criminal that we need to go get, because you're
the
gone
FBI
for
is
a long
following her
time.
because they were like, how long was she gone?
6-7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. but they're trying to figure out if there are more captives, because she was held
Mhm.
captive. They do know that. She shows up with weird scars on her back, and they're wondering, hey, where were you?
So did
we
this
can
happen
go.
like in the hospital, or is this like when she gets back home?
When she gets back home, the
Okay.
FBI, follows her home and stuff. And
Chill.
and they're like, okay, well, are the other captives still alive?
Yeah.
And she answers by saying, we've died more times than any of us could count.
Okay.
And it's true. It's true. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
true. And
Not what you want to hear as like an agent that's like, hey, I need to get these kids back safe, these former kids and like innocent civilians. How many are there? They've died 1,000 deaths.
Yeah.
not helpful, not encouraging, not
It really
direct,
isn't.
not what I want to hear.
Yeah. I think
So-
we end off the episode with her trying to get together a group of 5 people. She said they need to be strong and they need to be flexible.
She's not like trying to do an Avengers gather up where like she knows these people
She's
ahead
not
of
going
time.
anywhere. No, she's staying put. But
She's just
trying
like
to
gathering
find
people
somebody.
she
so
meets, not
Right.
people she knows ahead of time. She's like, I met you.
No.
You're perfect for the role. You're strong, flexible. Let's go.
well, yeah. She meets somebody and she says, hey, get me 5 people, strong, flexible, and they have to leave their door open and meet me at midnight. When
Biblical.
they leave. Biblical.
Yeah. It reminds me of like Old Testament, like paint your door and you will be passed over. This is like the
Oh.
opposite. It's like open your door and come find me. And so we don't know what she's going to do at the end of this episode.
No.
Does she find Homer at the end or not yet?
Not the end of the first episode, but we quickly find out who Homer is. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I won't push you for spoilers for the second episode. What I want to know is she goes to the hospital. She comes back.
Yeah.
With her family. The people who are in the story at the first episode
Yes.
are her parents,
Yes.
who are like, where have you been? How come you're not Prairie? And also you can see now
Yeah.
an FBI agent
Right.
who is like, I'm trying to unravel this case.
Mm-hmm.
Main character who is questionably Prairie. She is Prairie, but she's not Prairie
She goes
anymore.
by the OA now.
The OA. That's her name. She is the OA.
Yeah. She
Okay.
doesn't like to be called Prairie anymore.
All right. I'm not that girl anymore. Is there anybody else in the first episode that we should know? The guy that she
Yes.
meets who is gathering other people for her.
Yes, that guy's kind of important because he's
Does he
the
have a
first
name?
of 5 people.
Oh no, he's like the first squad member.
Yeah, he's the one assembling the squad.
Okay. That's okay. That's fine.
I don't good names.
So that's okay. Those are
he
where
has-
we are. And then it leaves off with her being like, find the others.
Yes.
The other 4 we will need and meet me here.
Yeah.
I gotta find Homer.
And she basically does kind of tell them, like, you want to know how I lost my, or you want to know how I, sorry, spoiler.
How I
You wanna
unlost
know
my
how
sight.
I got my sight back. Like, okay, come meet me.
Yeah.
5 people, leave your door open.
I know how I lost my blindness.
But that is part of the, yeah, she actually was born with vision. So how she lost her sight to begin with is a whole nother.
Oh, it's related to how she got it back then.
Yep.
She wasn't born blind. Like something happened
Something happened.
and then she lost it.
And it was the same way she got her sight back. So
Oh.
it's
Is this
so interesting.
Supernatural in any way?
Oh, that's the
Would
other
you
thing.
tell me?
Not exactly.
Not really.
Not really.
Okay.
It does get a little bit into sci-fi, but
Mhm.
that's the thing. Like, as ominous as the title is, so is the genre.
Yeah, that's
It's
okay.
so hard to put it into, like, is it action?
Trying to
Is it
figure out what genre it is.
Yeah, it doesn't really belong to anything specifically,
Well,
which I love.
I also think that like if you get like far enough into sci-fi or far enough into fantasy, you recreate the other genre, right? Like there's a trope that's called science is magic, which is kind of like the excuse for like whenever you get into those sci-fi that's like, yeah, we scientifically can make any food appear wherever we want because we just have a calibrator or whatever. And it's like, okay, so you magically create food. Like it's basically the same thing. Like we could teleport across the universe where you just press this button. It's not magic, it's science. But like
Yeah.
effectively it's the same thing, right? Like you just created the exact same effect as we would have. So I think the reason I bring that up is just like, I think if you get too far into one genre, you kind of just start itching into another. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's just the way all these things connect. So
Yeah.
that being said, Tristan, I kind of heard what your experience was with this story. Like you just stumbled upon it. So what made this episode of the OA so meaningful to you?
I think I was just completely fascinated by the story itself and also the way that they give you all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just serve it to you on a platter. I remember I pulled it up with a friend. We were just looking for something to put on, and we're supposed to watch something together, and we were staying at the same Airbnb for a couple weeks. And we said, okay, well, let's pick back up tomorrow because, my friend was going to sleep. And I said, yeah, okay. And within 10 minutes, I put it back on. I betrayed my friend. I said, I need to know. I need to know what happens. So I finished it that night. I stayed up until like 5 a.m. so I could get all the answers.
Wow.
And I got them and more. Oh.
I'm satisfied.
You don't need to wait until the end of the season. What you want to know?
We mentioned it before, but do you think it's that pattern of kind of that implicit promise it made with you as a watcher that was like, hey, I'm going to give you a question at the beginning, and by the end, you will know why? Is that like what kept you coming back, was kind of that like feedback loop of you will know the answer by the end of this episode if you can hang on until then. You don't have to wait till the end of the thing.
Because it didn't even make me feel like I had to wait. Mm-hmm. It felt like every single second they were explaining exactly what I wanted to know. Mm-hmm. And also,
like at the same time opening a new question with this answer.
Yes.
So I would say then in that case like an even smaller loop of like, yes, we will tell you. But then you're going to need to know, but it's like if you give a mouse a cookie, sci-fi, sci-fi explaining version, that's like, yes, well, I got my sight back because I'm just making stuff up here, gang. But, I got my sight back because of the expeculator. Oh, what is the expeculator? I'm so glad you asked, but you're going to have to ask Ted Manan. And like, who's Ted Manan? And like all of these things that's like, oh yeah, so I have this answer, but now I have to go get the other answer.
Can I just tell you how she got her sight back?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. She got her sight back because she flatlined. She died.
This is her one death. One of her deaths.
Yes. And she also lost her sight originally because of that. Oh. So she drowned when she was a little kid. She lost her vision.
But she came back.
Yeah.
And she didn't.
And then she died again under different circumstances, and she was given her sight back.
Given her sight back.
Yes.
Is that poetic or is that specific?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I will also say, because I think it's so noteworthy, that Britt Marling is the actress who plays the main character, and she's also a co-producer, and she's also a co-screenwriter. And
very invested in the project.
Hits all of them. Yeah.
So we're almost out of time. But before that, I want to ask you real quick, what is the meaning you think other people can find in this story? Or why do you think that this story should be like a tale of our time?
I think it should be a tale of our time because the writing is so brilliant that it can be a lesson to other creators and storytellers, that you can make something that is so full of story-worthy content. What do I want to say? That is so
like you can make something that is so economical in its storytelling. Like it can be dense, it can be driven, it can be energized without having to draw it out.
Right.
Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's good though. I actually like talking about stories also as like a lesson in something. Like as a related example, that's one reason why I recommend the series Arcane, also on Netflix. But because I think if you're a creative, there's also a really good lesson in building tension. It's one of the shows that it's like a masterclass, in my opinion, for like how to build, maintain, and release tension across a whole series without ever giving it up entirely. So I think there's a lot of value for watching shows like this one, the OA, in like talking about how to get that energy and keep the momentum throughout an entire short series without having to drag out the answer to these questions.
Yeah.
So, Tristan, if you then could give the OA season 1, episode 1, your very own subtitle, what would that be?
The OA, How to Write for TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope people watch it. I hope people learn it. You've definitely given us a lot to chew on. And I think this has been one of the most like enticing introductions in Tales of Our Time.
Oh, good.
But unfortunately, we are out of time. So thank you for joining me today, Tristan.
Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone else out there for joining us here on Radio Taiwan International. This has been Tales of Our Time. Yeah, this has been Tales of Our Time. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens. Joined today by my guest, Tristan Hildebrand. And we were talking about the OA, Season 1, Episode 1, How to Write for TV, A Tale of Our Time. We'll see you next time.